As a reclaimer, I've been very interested in bringing technology into my shop. I see it as a great tool for minimizing waste, maximizing the usage of material. And this video is going to talk about the newest addition to my tech here in the shop, this Thunder laser cutter. And I know it's not for everyone, but for me, I really see it as being an important part of the future of small businesses and manufacturing and whatnot. This video is about 10 things that a reclaimed woodworker can use a laser for, kind of a video. And I also want to tell you a little bit about the company and this whole experience, because it has been a huge eye-opening and amazing experience, and not just in the manufacturing level, but I've really opened my mind to a lot of different things. I'm going to start with number one, cutting letters. You can see right behind me on the wall there are my old letters, the timsway.net that I cut by hand many years ago, and above them I added my newperspectivesmusic.com, which I cut on the laser. I usually have some hardboard around the shop for making templates and jigs and whatnot, and it was perfect to cut and sort of learn how to start doing letters on the laser cutter for this guitar show. I wanted to make a kind of chauffois sign. And then that brings me to the second thing that we use our lasers for, which is engraving. Vance Maker wanted to make his sister a birthday present. See this piece of wood here? Yeah. This is left over from a kitchen counter. I cut it out and put a sink in. So this is like a scrap piece. But since I cut it out by hand with a jigsaw, there's no straight edges on it. So I'm going to use this to try and make some straight. Spending time to teach young people your craft and your skill is beneficial to the young person, but it's also beneficial to yourself. It helps you sort of reinforce some of the lessons and the safety procedures that you've learned that you might get sloppy about.
Oh, everything is green.
Yep. Then hit start, and it should start going. And plus, I love seeing the wonder and the excitement. See how it's like a little bit indented? It's pretty cool, huh? And having a student means you have a sander. Are they all done? What are they?
Cutting boards.
And what's that hole in the back?
Just to put a nail in. So, it's also a picture. Hope you guys like rugby.
Okay, this is another engraving project with my own weird twist. I'll tell you a little more about it at the end of this segment. A simple way to bring just about anything into the 21st century digital world is with your scanner. That's just a PDF of the actual stone, and now I can do just about whatever I want with it with my digital woodworking tools. I got these fish when I went to a rock show with my son like 3 years ago, and I fell in love with this. For some reason, like the pose of it is like tells a story almost, and it was like I couldn't believe it was only like $20 or whatever for this 50 million year old fossil. And the first thing I said when I got this was like, I want to make laser engravings of those fish, and I finally got to do it 3 years later. So that's pretty exciting for me, maybe not for you. Laser cutter, besides engraving, cuts, and obviously the thicker the wood, the more difficult anything is to cut. But what I found works really well on the laser cutter for reclaimed wood is some old cedar, and I just happen to have access to a lot of cedar. But you see, that's after it went through the planer, that's about a ½ inch thick, and this 100-watt laser cuts through it like butter. The cedar is like a lighter fiber density, so it cuts real nice. Here, this is some reclaimed 1/8-inch plywood, which also cuts nice. But if you want to get that thicker stuff, just get a really light wood like cedar, especially reclaimed, and you can make some really unique things. This might be a topic for a different video, but most YouTube content creators will say the best way to get the best deal for a sponsored video is to have the company contact you, and I completely disagree. I find companies I want to work with, and I contact them. That way my viewers are guaranteed to see a product that I actually believe in and not just someone that's paying the bills. I was not asked to do this part of the video. I'm doing this because I want to. When I'm searching for anything, I always look for the one that's priced in the middle, because the expensive one's not worth it and the cheap one's going to break too soon. And that brought me to Thunder Laser's website. I contacted them about their 40-watt desktop laser cutter because that seemed like something that would be a practical machine that could fit in most people's workshops. You know, a real machine that can do some real work. But they ended up sending me a demo from a trade show of a much larger machine, which is amazing to have. But they do make a smaller benchtop size machine as well. I wanted to see if I could find something that was made in America, and while there are companies that say that they're made in the USA, honestly most of the components are coming from China anyways. So I got over that hang-up of mine. I think our image here in the West of how things are made overseas might be accurate in some cases, but it can also be proven wrong, and that's what happened here. This company is a company of about 40 laser nerds, and they are just passionate about making good lasers. They happen to be in China where they can source all of the components themselves, and every machine gets hand-assembled and tested. They're always trying to make a better machine. They've been fantastic to work with in every way possible, and I could not speak higher of the machine or of the people. I don't care where in the world they're from. Good people are good people. And they're not just into the actual hardware side of it, they're also working on the software side. Most lasers use the industry standard software, which is called RDWorks, which is fine. They've been developing their own software called Laser Maker, which I've been helping them beta test, and that's what I use. You can see on the screen right now. It's a much more modern interface. It's very simple to use. There are still some bugs in it, and I'm making note of them. You can use Laser Maker to design your own art, but it is a little bit limited in that function. You're probably better off using something like Corel or Adobe to design your files and then import them into Laser Maker for cutting and etching. I actually use my Vectric software because I'm fairly comfortable in that, so I'll use that a lot to do some of my design work, and then I'll import it into here. But it's really very simple to use for the most part. You can take a photograph, drop it into Laser Maker, and just hit print, and it will print. It's like that easy. I'm not sure what their future is with the software, if it's going to be specific to their machines or if they're going to make it available for people to use with other machines. So, okay, back to the making. Real quick, this is a tool I invented called the Square, which I have made at a local shop that has a laser cutter that cuts steel. But since I have this laser cutter which cuts wood and plastic, I thought it'd be fun to make a giant version of my tool and give it to my friend Paul Jackman, who makes big tools. There's a video about it you can watch. But you can make tools for real. I've never owned a set of French curves, and so I found some images of them on the internet, and then I cut them out with some scraps of acrylic that I had left over. I didn't quite cut it far enough, as you can see here. I should have slowed the laser down just a little bit. I had to do some cleanup, but they work, and I'm happy with them. That was a lot of fun to do and really satisfying to make my own tool. One of the first things I did when I got my laser cutter was made some business cards out of cereal boxes, which is like kind of my thing. And then I was going to the New York City Maker Faire, and I thought, you know, a lot of people like to hand out stickers and stuff at those things, and I never do that. I always make my own stickers, usually out of wood, but I thought it'd be cool to use the laser cutter since it was a new toy and make these cards to pass out.
I don't even have to leave my computer hooked up to this. The file's saved right in there, so I can unplug it and plug it back into the CNC, continue to go about my day doing my other work while this thing just churns out cards.
I don't know if all lasers are like this, but a feature of mine is that I can save the CAM file, the actual cutting file, in the machine and unplug my laptop and continue to run the file. Now this was just me picking up some old hollow core doors, one of my favorite products to try and make stuff out of, because it's usually very decent 1/8" plywood on either side, which when I got the laser cutter I was thinking, well, 1/8" plywood is going to be like the laser cutter's jam. I need to go collect some doors. And that's what I did here, and you can see this is the construction of those cheesy hollow doors that you have on your closet or hallway, and it's just some cardboard in the middle and you have this really nice 1/8" plywood. I wanted to make some little boxes for my guitar show, and I used the MakerCase link that is right in the software to design my boxes and cut them out of this 1/8" plywood. I just used a little bit of super glue to put the whole box together, and then cut it apart into the shape that I wanted. Right about here I realized that I should have put my New Perspectives Music logo on the box.
fortunately, I was still able to do that because the bed goes way down on this machine to, I don't know the exact number of inches, but something like 8 inches or so you can put larger items into the machine. And there are trap doors that open up, so even if the item doesn't fit on the bed, you can have it hanging out the door. And so I was still able to engrave my logo on it. I cut my teeth on those French curves and I learned how to cut acrylic. And I made these guitar stands. This is a design that I saw online and I kind of copied and changed a little bit. But I thought they'd be very nice, small, lightweight, and easy to carry guitar stands to bring to my guitar shows. And have kind of a cool look. Oh yeah, some of my plexi scraps came from Jimmy DeResta's shop when he moved down to New York City, like that piece. Thanks, Jimmy. Disclosure. If you cut vinyl records, which are PVC based, on a laser cutter, you are in essence burning the plastic, the PVC, and releasing chlorine gas and some other terrible, terrible toxins. They are very bad for you to breathe, and they are also potentially corrosive to your machinery, like the metal inside of the laser cutter. So do not try this at home, and if you do, make sure you're taking all the proper safety precautions. With that said, I had this idea I wanted to make for my 13th anniversary. I always make a gift, and the traditional gift is lace. I wanted to make a lace, like doily type thing out of a record to give to my wife, and it was working, but the problem I was having, as you can see here, is that it was very difficult to center it perfectly on the record because it's not square. And then I tried, like, first with the tape, and then I tried with this piece of wood underneath that I could do better, and that made a big melting mess. So I've since talked to Thunder Laser about their Laser Maker software, saying, hey, you know what, you should have a start feature where I don't have to start at the top left corner, but I can start in the center. And they're going to try and incorporate that into the next version of the software, which I'm excited for because I think that'll come in handy. I ended up giving up on the record idea, and I switched to some of the fake leather that was used in my Sway Carolina work boots. I have more information coming on those soon. So instead, I cut the doily pattern out of that, which it didn't really matter if it was centered or not. And then I decided to mount that on a piece of wood and then fill it all in with epoxy to make it durable, like a trivet or something. So I used this piece of cherry that was from a cabinet that I had cut apart and salvaged, and used my CNC router parts machine to just cut a simple circle with a lip to mount the lace into, and then pour in the epoxy. This was my first time doing a deep pour like this, and what I learned is that I should have used less epoxy on the first batch, just put a very thin coat and put my piece on to hold it down like glue, and then make a thicker batch for the second pour, which I'm doing here. I'll know better next time. I had some difficulties keeping the lace flat, and I also missed some air bubbles.
I didn't do a great job with the epoxy. It's the first time I've ever done an epoxy pour like this where you actually had to see it. Every other time I've done it, it's just been to sort of harden wood and fill cracks. So live and learn. Next time I'll do better, but still looks pretty cool.
I looked it up, and you shouldn't put anything over 135 degrees Fahrenheit on this, so it's not a trivet that you want to put a hot frying pan on, but you can use it for a display piece on a table.
So you can see from this video, it takes place over several months. A lot of it is just basic stuff that you do on a laser cutter, because really, you know, at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're engraving and we're cutting with it. I do have some ideas some kind of crazier ideas that are a little more abstract, and those videos will be coming soon. Thank you very much to Thunder Laser for sponsoring them. And what I've also been doing lately is experimenting with like sort of tooling. Like you can see my country dice video where I set up like a jig, and then I have been incorporating the CNC and the laser together. Like for this is a product, this is the Sporkchilla, and this is a product I came up with a couple years ago that I made on the bandsaw, but now I can 3D model it in my Vectric software, carve it on my CNC router parts machine, engrave it with the laser for the finishing touch, and now using reclaimed stuff, now I can bring it to the level of a product that looks like it was made in a factory, that looks like it could be sold in a store, and it's not just like rustic reclaimed. I think that's really cool, and it's a way to elevate this style of making, and I hope you agree. If you have any questions, please ask. You can also go to the Thunder Laser webpage. I'll put a link below, as well as their YouTube page. You find lots of information there, and I'll do my best to answer the questions as well. Thank you very much for watching. As always, be good.